called America.
Absolutely. And we're some other options today, and we're going to take advantage of all of this technology, Kevin. At some point, we're going to take advantage of all of it and be all about, all around, and thing. And we just want to find our comfortable place in it and make it do what it do.
Well, we all have had to be challenged with the use of technology. We have had to digital divide. We have to address the digital divide in 6 months that which we've been talking about for 20 years, and it's all of a sudden it's on us now, and we're all asked to be on the grid, and so this is going to be a interesting new way of living. So welcome to the 21st century. When we were children, we used to watch the Jetsons, and little did
I love the Jetsons.
It will be in Jetson stage right now. So we're gonna be having flying cars soon, and everybody's on a digital platform, and we are in an interesting time, but it's still a great time, and it's a great time to be alive. And despite all the challenges, we're going to keep hope alive and create the nation and the world that we want to create.
Someone was asking, they were talking about it on one of the talk shows, what cartoons did you watch as a child? And I watched the Jetsons. I loved the Jetsons, all the futuristic stuff, and they took the pills for food, and the way they just, I guess, lived up in the stratosphere somewhere. But that was my show. I love that show.
Well, what media oftentimes tells us, and media comes from a Latin word which means to forecast, to tell, to articulate the future. It's almost like they knew exactly where we would be. So that's a good segue. Let us know what your favorite cartoon is and was. There have been constant rumors about the Simpsons being able to prophetically or futurely tell this future story about what's going to happen and things come true. And so it's interesting what people know. My favorite cartoon was the Smurfs. I love Smurfs. And it's actually an analogy and metaphor for so many of us in life, all the different characters. And so we learn a lot by those cartoons. They tell us a lot. Walt Disney had a lot of ideas, and so everything is something. Everything is teaching us or informing us something about what the world has looked like or what it looks like.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, the number to call in is area code 452-3094, and we would love to hear from you, all things election, as well as what your favorite cartoon was growing up as a child.
Or is.
Or is, yes. Yes.
Sometimes I look for the Smurfs and Super Friends. They took Super Friends off. That was another.
Oh, yeah, that was another one. I love the Super Friends.
Flintstones and Bugs Bunny, all of that stuff. I'm guessing I'm aging myself. So.
And speaking of age, how was your birthday?
Oh, it was awesome. Thank you for inquiring. Family came in and said salutations from all around the country, and it was great to be affirmed. You're so used to affirming others, and you stop positive people affirm you. I felt that I received it, and I was quite thankful. But most importantly, thankful for my health and my sanity, and I'm thankful for just great people and great friends. And when you get 50, I've oftentimes been saying you've grown, you really understand how the world works. And it's interesting, when I was 30, you think you know so much, but when you're 30, you don't know jack. I'm sorry. And it's funny, speaking of politics, when we talk about politics, people say I'm ready. You haven't done anything. You haven't made any impact. You don't know what you're doing, and so it's beautiful to be on this side of the Jordan, right? To look over and say, hey, this is what it takes to really make an impact. But we have to just live the best life. And it doesn't matter how old you are, but how old you feel. I really feel like I'm 25 again. So.
Well, that's great. That's what's important. That is definitely what's important.
Absolutely. So those of you out on radio land, it don't matter how old you think you are, how old the calendar says, how you feel and how you feel about life. And it's never too late to start doing what you want to do. And it's never too early So, but yeah, thankful to be 50 years old.
Indeed. So you see me fooling with this YouTube. I think I'm about ready to share this link, and we'll make it do what it we'll make it do what it do.
So for those who are listening, Miss Pearl is incorporating digital platforms with us tonight. So we're on YouTube, directly on Facebook, and we have presence on the radio. And so we are stepping up our digital platform with various avenues to reach all of the people. And so we want everybody from the hamlet to the alley, those on old phone lines, be able to get access to this quality information that we're sharing as we analyze and synthesize all those important political, social, and economic issues that impact us all. Break them down, we put them back together, and we look at it from all different perspectives because all of you matter.
Absolutely, indeed. So I'm going to do a little housekeeping before we delve into it. So the polls are open until 7 p.m. If you are in line at 7, if you're in line at 7 p.m., excuse me, you will be allowed to vote. And I guess the glass also, or you can, he's going to turn that down. Okay. All right. Thank you. So we're still making some adjustments here. But yeah, so if you're in line at 7 p.m., you will be allowed to vote. If you tried to vote absentee and there was an issue with your ballot, you can vote in person via the provisional ballot. And if you need a ride to the polls, I'll give that number out momentarily. And so if you haven't voted, go on and vote. It's not too late. You have plenty of time. The lines are longer than they actually are because of distancing, but please, it's not too late. Go on ahead and vote. And I'm pulling that number up now. If you still need transportation, then that number, well, I thought I had it, but I'll have it in just a moment. But we'd love to hear from you. The number to call in is area code 901-452-3094. We are Memphis State of the City. This is Pearl Walker along with Dr. Kevin Brooks. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And later, after this show, we will be going downtown to City Hall Event Center, which is at 492 South 2nd Street next to Makita's Cookies. Next to Makita's Cookies behind Central Barbecue. And we're going to be there this evening doing election night coverage. And you want to talk a little bit about that? I love the way Kevin describes the way we're going to do it, because it's not like everyone else does it, and being independent, we just have a certain autonomy to express. And
well, no one controls the narrative for us, and so many times and so often politics is about someone else creating a narrative for us. And it's many of the issues that we exist now that we see and we will see tomorrow is because we have people, whether they are in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, who have not had an opportunity to walk the streets of North Memphis or South Memphis, or they don't know you, they don't know your issues. And we have elected officials who we elect who don't know you. And so when individuals don't know you, they make decisions on behalf of you, and they're not the right decisions. And so what we're going to do is make sure everything we say is with you in mind. And unfortunately, particularly the Democratic Party, and I'm an unapologetic Democrat, and I'm a son of the South, we often like to think like Democrats from New York, and we're not from New York. We're Democrats in the South. And so we make decisions and policies differently. Things are differently. And so we oftentimes lose sight of those things. And so we have to start making sure that those people who are in the rooms, that they represent us and represent our interests and not special interests represent our interests. And the day and time of you saying you black and you going to do something for us is over, because just because you by color don't mean you by kind. And so we are increasingly finding that the symbolic Negro nostalgic symbolism is going to be over, because we need quality representatives to address the pandemic of African Americans, American descendants of slavery, who continue to be left behind and left out, disinherited, disenfranchised, and disrespected. And so Memphis State of the City is going to make sure that you are valued, because we're going to present issues that are important to you. Memphis is a wonderful and it's a great city. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We don't have a poverty problem. We have a poorly organized problem. And so we are a rich city, and I wish we stopped talking about how poor we are. We are wealthy, and we can accomplish absolutely anything we organize and we focus on addressing. In a day and time where individuals exploit the low economics for their own benefit and interest. And so that's what we're going to be doing, making sure we really rebuild and create a city second to none in the nation and globally. And so this is the first part of that. So I said all that to say that's how we are shaping the new narrative as independent media, as following in the footsteps of the Afro in Baltimore and the Tri-State Defender in Memphis and the Westminster Defender in Chicago, following in the history of John Rushram and so many great publicists, Ida B. Wells, and hopefully we'll be talking to Reverend Senator Gary as we talk about the Ida B. Wells Memorial, who established her own narrative independently.
Absolutely.
Speak truth to power in a city anchored in tyranny and fear.
My shiro, Ida B. Wells. Actually, some years ago, while you were away, Kevin, I started a monthly, I guess you could call it a forum, a gathering, and it was every third Sunday of the month, and it was called Ida B. Sundays, and every third Sunday we gathered. I had a guest speaker. We had a presentation and a discussion, and there was fellowship and potluck, and I had a good run with that. We did it for a while. It started originally in my salon at the old location, 660 Williams Avenue, in the historic Soulsville district, not too far from the historic Lemoyne.
There's no historic community called Soulsville. Where that come from? I don't know. You're going to say historic. What's that? You got to help me. I'm back new to the city. When you say historic, I think about the historic Bigfoot, the historic Binghamton.
A historic part of South Memphis that is now called Soulsville.
You mean Lemoyne Gardens?
Yeah, Lemoyne Gardens, Lemoyne College, right
Lemoyne
down
Gardens,
the street.
Okay, so I've got to be careful when that people come in and start changing names. That's neo-colonialism.
We talked,
but the key, if you can say it, modern day, it ain't historic now.
We talked about that on another presentation. I'm sorry. I did last week. Well, I was going on to say Lemoyne, but
Lemoyne Garden, baby.
So it was the conversation was about gentrification.
Well, Foot Homes. What was Foot Homes and Dixon Homes?
Yeah, and we were talking about how they rechange names.
They colonize, neo-colonize.
And I was when I was in my leadership Memphis class. Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. We're gonna call it like it is. Straight.
It starts when we sell grandmama's house. I'm trying to get the best view with this.
That was a great view. But I think the point that is, again, you can change names, but the question is who's changing the names. And so if they you gotta be careful when you start closing your high schools and start changing names of your community. Next thing you know, the community no longer represents the historic citizens. So I just have an issue with you saying historic Soulsville. I know that's a new feeling.
But I was saying Lemoyne on right behind it.
That's not, but there's no historic community called Soulsville.
Okay.
Right?
Point taken.
Right? There's a historic community called Binghamton. There's a historic community called. You think they'll ever change Chickasaw Gardens? Please, that's a historic community. Will you let somebody change that? Will you let somebody change? Would you allow someone to change? Give me another historic community. Whitehaven. You know, and I love the fact that we practice Negro neo-colonialism. We change Whitehaven to Blackhaven. That's the beauty of Black folk. And so I think it's all fair. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I don't like the name Blackhaven for Whitehaven.
Right. You know, that's all right. But I guess, but
because so, when you do, okay, so when you do that, it suggests that Whitehaven was named after white people, and it wasn't named after white people. So I did something on Facebook about that, renaming Whitehaven. I'll pull it up, and it was some great names like Renaissance and things of that nature. So.
I think once you teach people the history, then they would know the context, and it means something, right? And so Whitehaven is just Blackhaven is a play on Whitehaven, but if it was not named after White, who is Whitehaven? What is those things? And those things are important. And when you take a name away, you take away the history and the roots and the culture and the people who lived there. And I think those people should always be paid homage, regardless if they were white, black, Puerto Rican, or Mexican. And so we should pay homage to those people who helped establish those communities.
So it was named after Colonel White, who was one of the original. He was a white man. He was one of the original homesteaders in the area and responsible for the Illinois Central Railroad coming through Whitehaven. So that's where the name came from. So it was a
big ups to Colonel White. But that's important because right now you are leading efforts to really reestablish economic engine in Whitehaven, and the train stations and those things really establish an opportunity for people to come to Whitehaven. So many times those individuals who lead economic development and community development efforts, it's only fitting that their names should be etched in time and history. But we can create Pearlville, and Pearlville is
Pearlville. That sounds like the place to be.
Absolutely. So go ahead and establish it with the Whitehaven Neighborhood Business Association. So we are always growing. So there's new names. That's the beauty of waking up. That's the beauty of having an opportunity to wake again. My language is all off today. That's the beauty of it. We can change names. Names evolve for the times based off the impact that we're making.
And they do establish and define identity, and so I stand corrected about the historical Soulsville, but
you can say the historic Walker Avenue,
South Memphis.
You can say Fort Holmes, historic Lemoyne Gardens, historic Castalia, historic Orange Mile. There's so many great communities. But you said something that struck my attention. That is your work establishing such a great initiative, and I commend you on great initiatives like the Ida B. Wells dinner. I ask that you consider relaunching that. I'm working with the Ida B. Wells Memorial Committee, and we're focusing on erecting a memorial on 4th and Beale Street. And Dr. December Gray is going to be calling. Hopefully, if you're out there, Reverend Gray, give us a call in, talk more about the life and legacy of Ida B. Wells. And Pearl, I know you love us, so you're going to be part of that movement. So I need you to call everybody, get ready to make a donation, because we are focusing on raising $250,000, our fundraising goal, and we need everybody to pitch in. It's easy to say you love me, but would you put something up to make sure that the world continues to know who I am? We want to make sure that this beautiful, powerful woman who spoke truth to power, who they ran out of town by a cowardly pack of folk, that we are going to bring her and invoke her back here in the city of Memphis. She went on to Chicago, she went on to New York, and she made a significant impact. And we have allowed folk to run the best people away from our city and never pay homage to them. And this is our way of paying homage to them.
I think this is wonderful. It is well overdue. Unfortunately, a lot of people still don't know about the life and legacy of Ida B. Wells. So be sure to Google her. Now, I know that our listening audience is above average and very astute, but just in case you don't know her entire story, please, please Google Ida B. Wells. It's an amazing story. And there's also a documentary called Crusade for Justice. They had some copies at the main library. It was, when I saw it, it was on VHS, so hopefully it's been converted, but it speaks largely about her experience in Memphis, and then it goes beyond that um, some, but definitely this monument, like I say, is overdue. She is well deserving, and yes, I want to put some energy behind it as well as some dollars,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
she was it. She was it, and it was upon seeing this documentary, it just gave me a fuller context understanding of what her life was about and the work that she did. We know Ida B. Wells was a journalist. We know that her friends were lynched. They were merchants at Mississippi and Walker, and they were lynched, and maybe a couple of other things, but just her broader career and writing about the lynchings and traveling and speaking. And she actually went overseas, and she was one of the founders of the NAACP. So an amazing life. Be sure to Google her and check that out. And probably, yeah, so starting today, we will continue to give you updates about this project. But the project, funds are being raised to erect a monument on her behalf.
And not only is the funds going to be raised to erect the monument, but the funds are going to be raised to raise awareness. And you said so elegantly that people do not know. And people do not know is because we have not made it a part of our education or our school system curriculum. It's time due to create, we erect statues and monuments to change and erect policies. And so you all will hear more about my work with the Lynching Sites Project as we address the race history of racial terror and injustice in the city of Memphis and around the South to raise money and to raise people so that we can address these issues and so that folk will not have to look to Google. That by the time a child's in third, fourth, fifth grade, they can articulate who Ida B. Wells is and they know their history, and it's not secondary source. You learn it directly from the curriculum that the Tennessee State, as well as the nation, should be presenting to all Americans regarding not just Black history, but American history. And so those who want to donate, you can make a donation to the Ida B. Wells statue at gmail.com. You can go to Cash App, Ida, $ Ida B. Wells statue, STATUE, and you can give by Venmo, Ida B. Wells statue at gmail.com, and you make your checks payable to the Neshoba Community Resource Center. The Neshoba Community Resource Center, attention, Memphis Memorial to Ida B. Wells, 7715 East Holmes Road, Memphis, Tennessee, 38125. And that's what we're doing, Memphis State City. We're going to create a great city. We're not waiting on the mayor, no governor. We're not waiting on
nobody.
president.
We didn't wait on anybody to start this show. We didn't wait on anybody to do election live coverage.
The Democratic Party, Republican Party, the Green Party. We are
Libertarian
Party. We're going to create our own party by doing what we do to empower people to be the leaders that they are. We don't wait on anybody. All of us are called to be leaders. Where we lead where we are, and we will indeed transform the city. You heard it first here on Memphis State. Memphis, raise your expectations. Memphis State of the City. We are organizing, mobilizing for change. We are focusing on the salvation, education, and liberation of this mighty nation of Memphians. So if you want to talk and share about any of the things we're talking about, the call-in number is 901-452-3094. Again, 901-452-3094. It's election day. And they should have election day should be a day off. It should be a national day off. And it's interesting that it's not. And it's interesting Mississippi. I know all you folk like them. Everybody, half of my family has moved to Mississippi and come back. I'm like, everybody's moved to Mississippi. You can't even vote early, have early voting.
Yeah, they don't have early voting there.
That's just another form of voter suppression.
It is. It is.
Speaking of voter suppression, what's going on with Sister Bradshaw's campaign?
So, Bradshaw's campaign. This morning, I covered Memphis State of the City covered a press conference concerning Marquita Bradshaw and early voting. So the early voting results are supposed to be released to the candidates prior to, and they were not released to her. There was an issue surrounding the nature of the request and some things like that. So as of last night, to speak the story up, as of last night, the results were shared with the Bradshaw campaign, but they still had not received the results. They still had not received the results from Davidson County, which is where Nashville is located. And this process, this falls under Tennessee Secretary of State Trey Hargett, and he is a staunch Republican, big Trump supporter. Coincidence or not, but
absolutely. Absolutely.
So there was a press conference this morning. It was a Mr. Hall. I'm sorry, his first name escapes me, but some of the unions were there, union representation, Attorney Andrew Wharton, Attorney Van Turner, State Representative Barbara Cooper, and Joe Towns, Carnita Atwater, and a couple of others. And they just spoke to the process and the legal issues surrounding this. So they were saying that they were going to wait a couple more hours to see if these early ballots were brought forth. But the early voting results, this is not absentee ballots. We're talking about early voting results. So early voting results, candidates, campaigns use that to strategize at the last minute. They can do phone banking to voters who haven't been voted. Not only does it show you who has voted, but it shows you who has not voted. So it can be used in a variety of ways, but it's definitely considered as a valuable piece that is definitely used by campaigns. And to deny her access for whatever reason is unconstitutional. It is against the law. And it should be addressed and dealt with as they did with the press conference this morning. And hopefully subsequently some other things were put in place as well.
Well, it's not just her, it's all of us, because she is purporting to prepare to represent us. But we all need to be able to be assured that whatever is public information, we have access to it for whatever our interests may be. And in this case, Sister Bradshaw was using the information to gather this feedback on the diligent efforts that she needs to make sure that everyone is out to the polls. And the pushback from the state, which is the state public agency that we all pay for, that they don't, to just reply, we don't feel like it. That's unacceptable. But it speaks to the culture of apathy and the culture of intimidation and coercion and bullying that individuals who are in a particular party that has power for so long, it's just the attitude. And it's the wrong kind of attitude, and it speaks volumes to this the significant amount of division that we have in the city. Is that You can be a Republican, but you can be amenable. The day and time for Black folks to assert the fact that we are Americans shouldn't have to come by way of filing a lawsuit. But we're increasingly discovering that in the history of Black folks' tenure in this nation, you got to file a lawsuit, which is unfortunate because we shouldn't have to file a lawsuit to ridiculous notion, and we should all be up and upset. And I'm not gonna say up in arms because this is an open carry state. I don't want to encourage violence, but we should be concerned that these officers work for us. And it's almost for me, I'm not gonna. I'm just a person. I'm 50 now. I'm not gonna hold any cut cards. And the cut cards is sometimes Democrats have just sat back and allowed these things to happen for so many election cycles that all of a sudden Republicans, now y'all want to talk, man, please go down and sit somewhere. We don't take y'all serious, right? And so you need to be fighting on these behalf. Every minute there is a level of injustice. And the day and time of people saying they're going to serve the Democratic Party as leaders is over when you're going to be weak and spineless and not serving your constituency in the best efforts. So you don't have to file a lawsuit. You make this case of articulating your expectations that the government is supposed to work for all of its citizens. And that is not the case in many of our states, and we're going to see that tonight with the aggressive voter suppression, oppression, and repression tactics that has been pandemic in America for over 100 years. Speaking of teaching some history, we should know those things, and it's one of the reasons why there is such apathy in regards to the voting process and getting the South to vote. That's just, I don't want to sound upset about it, but I'm upset. I'm very, very upset about that.
Yeah, so hopefully the rest of the early voting results have been released, and
that's shady.
Yeah,
we heard what Atlanta has done. We see what they do. We know what they do. So anytime we start using language like hope, it's ambiguous. It shouldn't be cheap.
And okay, that right there, they're gonna cheat. And Malcolm said, by any means necessary, and that's how they operate, by any means necessary. So I think what we should do, whoever the we is, we should conduct ourselves accordingly, seeing as how we're dealing with people who are operating from the philosophy of by any means necessary.
Well, I wouldn't even want you to take such a great quote by the prophetic and powerful Honorable Malcolm, Honorable L. Hodge Malcolm X, because the whole point is that you utilize strategies to achieve a particular outcome. These folks just outright being bullies and tyrannical. They said, no, we ain't gonna do it. They not even resort to a strategy. They saying no because they are in power. And
standing in their power.
And you can't be mad at them because where I grew up in North Memphis is if you don't challenge the bully gonna continue to feel like they powerful every day. And my young mama, and growing up in Corner Village and going to North Side Atlanta, she said, boy, you better not come back talking to somebody, man, you back in the house. You better go back out there and confront them. And so we learned early to confront bullies. And so I didn't come 50 years old to not start confronting bullies. But the question is, I had some young, skinny, naked, chest little black boys who if we had to go jump the bully, we did it together. Now I know I'm a Christian, y'all still pray for me. I ain't been saying that long. But we have to be in a place where we do not allow cowardliness to take on the form of leadership within our communities. And so the Republican Party is they're inappropriate. They are
definitely.
They are very inappropriate to look at what's happening with the Shelby County Election Board and Republican control Shelby County Republican
Election Commission. The Shelby County Election Commission.
Yeah, we have to kind of look at that because government's all about governance. I'm sorry, I'm so
Be Kevin.
Y'all gonna be
Be
like
Kevin.
Y'all gonna be like out of words.
No.
I'm getting impatient.
No. So if you still need a ride, or you know someone who needs a ride, the number is 901-521-1345, 901-521-1343. Let me do it again. 901-521-1343. This is Memphis State of the City for a walk along with Dr. Kevin Brooks. We're about to take a break and we'll be back.
And while we're taking a break, make sure you call somebody because the post closes at what time?
They close at 7.
At 7. Okay, so we have almost an hour and 30 minutes. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure call all your family. Say make sure that they can at the polls, if not, drive them, get them there by any means necessary.
You know, I'm public with that yet? Is that public yet?
It is, but I haven't been announced it. I like people to discover stuff. They're gonna send something out.
Chance I
Well, when they do, let me know.
Okay. I can go to people every day. I like to discover.
My bag is tore up. I'm gonna sleep on the hard floor tonight, I think.
You better take a break.
I can't. She comes home Saturday. I gotta get
Who, your mom? Your mom?
Yeah, I gotta get those cut tiles around the wall. I gotta get that.
You're doing the floor for her.
Oh man,
Oh, that's awesome.
still gotta paint a window seal and do her basement. So then I'm moving her bed in there and I'm done. I ain't doing no more to her room. My room's next, but I'm broke. My room's next, but I'm broke. Everybody's probably glued to their TV tonight.
Yeah, we're doing some coverage down at City Hall Event Center. When we leave here, we'll be downtown, so that's why we're gonna cut out a little early.
What time are y'all gonna cut out?
What you want to do? 6:30?
That's cool.
6:30?
So what is it? What's going on down there?
We're gonna do election night coverage
Oh, okay.
at a venue downtown.
I went and voted today. I wasn't going to vote, period. But only reason I voted was for Charlotte Bergman. She's awesome. I love that woman. Yeah, she is.
Yeah, we're gonna go over the ballot and the candidates in just a few minutes.
She's a big time Trump person, but I just like her the way she is. I mean, she's just like
most
down
people
to
like
earth.
that. That's all you gotta do is be who you are.
Yes, I mean,
and that's why people like Trump.
Huh?
That's why people like Trump. Because he's himself.
She did his like campaign here.
I see, super.
Yeah, and that's the only thing. But I didn't vote for that. I voted.
Oh, she ran
First off, Steve Cohen hadn't lost that daggum office because the Fords endorsed his tail, and that's the only reason he's been getting put in office all these years.
Really?
Is when the Fords retired, they endorsed him, and then it was just like. But that dude don't know a damn thing about what's going on over here in this neighborhood and this area. He don't know nothing. He came in here one day. He acted like he was scared. I'm like, bro, this is your territory here, man.
This where he grew up. This is from.
No. This
is district. Okay.
This is your district. Why are you scared? Why are you scared of your own district, man? I said, if you scared to come into this neighborhood, God forbid, I know you ain't going into the Mitchell Heights, and if you scared to come into Nutbush, because you get all colors of the rainbow over here. This is like
I know. I recognize this is very, very diverse. It's just a hodgepodge of all gumbo. I'm like, I see all kind of all folk over here.
Yeah,
I was surprised. I ain't been up here in years.
Yeah, this is like.
What's this area called? What's this neighborhood called?
This neighborhood, Nutbush.
This is Nutbush.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in Nutbush.
Yeah, this is the neighborhood Nutbush.
That's powerful, really. I gotta do my history.
They've actually put it on the actual city map now.
Nutbush.
Yeah, if you look on the city map on Google, it's
I'm gonna find out who
Nutbush.
was Nutbush.
It's like the northeast Memphis. It's not like
I know. I don't know where to call it, man. I don't know where, cause I used to. Yeah, I didn't tell like where is this?
so. Nutbush is smack dab in the middle of. We're in the middle of Douglas and Mitchell Heights and Summer
Oh
Avenue.
yeah,
So we're sandwiched in right in the middle of
right.
between
Right.
Summer, Douglas,
Right.
and Mitchell Heights.
We didn't come this far when I grew up. But we come up this way to go to. We went to the movie and we went to Liberty
Drive-in.
to the drive-in and we went to a water slide. It's a water slide. Was it a water slide?
Yeah,
Adventure City,
Adventure River.
Adventure River. Wasn't that around here somewhere?
That was right down off the interstate right there.
Yeah. What happened to it?
Like, it
They
got
closed
closed
it.
down.
My God, we
Folks
had a
going
great
in there clowning and shit back in the 90s when all the gangs and shit.
games. Oh my God, man, I used to go. We used to love that. We had all the great stuff.
It was
Memphis is great.
still playing.
No, we can start back.
We're back. Memphis, state of the city, with wonderful Pearl Walker. I am Dr. Kevin Andre Brooks. How you feeling, Sister Pearl?
I feel good, and I'm excited in regard to these new options so that we can be more accessible to more people and they can hear this wonderful narrative that is for us, by us, and unfiltered. I like that, unfiltered. It's very independent media, especially Black independent media, is very important. And with that, I guess it's a perfect segue to share that tonight, Visicom Media will be also broadcasting our election night results. Jet Lucas, Tony Ivory, and staff, they will be at City Hall Event Center. So there will be yet another option to see us tonight. So we'll be on YouTube, Facebook, and Visicom. So we're doing things, but my back to my point. Thank you so much, Visicom Media, and just to be able to once again control our own narrative. It's so important. It's so powerful, and in controlling your own narrative, you get to share things that are not always that are important, valuable, but they are not always shared in other places where people are controlling the narrative who don't look like us and don't have our best interest at heart.
And not only that, I would add that with Black media, and thankful for Jed Lucas and this initiative, because there's a fundamental question that we ask as facilitators of Black media, and that is what's in it for the Black people, right? And because we have received a piece of the pie. That's been America's challenge. They have respected us and they haven't heard from us to make sure we get a piece of the pie. And so America will not be the great nation it can be until there is indeed equity. So a lot of times we've had people who were supposed to represent us in the room, but they were not representing our interests. And we are at a time where we constantly have to ask the question, what's in it for the Black folk? And just because you're Black don't mean that you have been doing it. And we know you haven't been doing it, because as I come back to Memphis in 25 years, I'm like, what happened? What was in it for, my aunties and cousins and all the folk I knew? Everybody is growing, and all the institutions that I were a part of as a youngster, they are all closed down. And so, that's disheartening for a city that's majority African American, and African American are still left behind in it. It really doesn't make good sound sense as Americans. And so it's not about race, but Americans have made everything about race. And with this president we have, I hope we don't be saying that long after tonight. But with this president we have, those issues have been illuminated. And he didn't start it; he just exasperated it. Right? He just operated. He took advantage of it and exploited it. And so, but we are all critical thinkers now. Black folk, white folk, brown folk, yellow folk, all have to really start to come to the table and say, okay, what's in it for the black folk, right? Because Asians are making significant strides when it comes to wealth in this country, right? Um, some would even say Caribbeans are making great strides as they come into this country. Uh, Africans, Nigerians, and even Ghanaians, when they start coming to the country, they made great strides in coming to this country. But when you look at the American descendants of slavery, they are not making the same exponential growth in terms of wealth building. You got to ask ourselves why. So this is an opportunity where we all come to table, start advocating and asking the question, hey, what's in it for the black folk?
And that's a fair and legitimate question, a question that it almost seems like we've been afraid to ask. And those of us who have been asking the question have been shamed for asking. But yes, it's time, it's overdue. We should be asking what's in it for us. In a perfect world, I don't think that we should even be Democrats or Republicans. I think we should be independents, and everyone should court us for our votes, election by race, election by election.
Well, ultimately, we are all Americans, right? And partisan politics is really about historically who has leveraged power. And in both cases, what's interesting enough, black folks use the Republican Party for its interests. Frederick Douglass did a great job. Those who were part of the Free African Society in Philadelphia and Maryland and the North, they made sure the Republican Party worked for them. A lot of people don't know the beginning of before the Union Bill of Rights, the descendants of slavery, free Africans who purchased their own freedom, organized to make sure policies and governments work for them. So we do know that there were different number of parties in the beginning. There were Federalists, which so this is where you come in help with American history. What's the first president, second president? Adams. Adams was Federalist, right? They had different parties for different interests and different agendas. But I really want to speak to the point that you're making about black media. And black media ask those fundamental questions that are important to their constituents. And that is, and their constituents, i.e., black folk, because in America has been primarily anchored by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants and Catholics, Jews, all built off of the indigenous people on this country. And African people were here. And so these natives really had a problem with immigrants, right? These white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, which became the core of what is known as the Ku Klux Klan. And people like to minimize their influence and significance in this country. They are their impact and their influence still reigns significantly in our laws, in our mores, in the ways we do things, and they are still an invisible institution. And so, but their major issue was against immigrants, and those immigrants at that particular time can be Catholic, can be Jew, but they had this thing about white supremacy, and it's still it's so much a part of who we are today. But America now has to start to deal with it because we have a problem with our soul. We have a soul problem in this nation, and this election is bringing it to us. And I hate that we have to be on the radio talking about black media and asking what's in it for the black folk, because we have the courage and the spirit of Ida B. Wells to do that. When we do know when people stand up, they get destroyed and killed, and that's been the history of this city with Memphis Massacre and the death of our prophet, the Honorable Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Absolutely. Once again, we are Memphis State of the City. This is Pearl Walker along with Dr. Kevin Brooks. We'd love to hear from you. The number to call in is area code 901-452-3094. And we're talking all things politics, all things election. Today is November 3rd, and it is election day in these United States of America. So at this time, we're going to go over the ballot. Of course, this varies from state to state, but here in Tennessee, we are voting for president, Senate, and State House of Representatives. Some of us call them our state reps. And so, starting off with president and vice president, we actually had, let's see, about 8 candidates on the ballot. Of course, the incumbent, President Donald Trump, and his vice presidential choice again, Michael R. Pence. I never knew his first name until now. It's just always Pence. Never knew his like Prince and Madonna, just the one name. But anyway, and the Democratic nominee, Joseph. So you all know him as Joe, but it's actually Joseph R. Biden. And of course, his VP nominee is Kamala D. Harris. And so there's some other people on the ballot, independents as well as, well, they're all as independents, but I think one of these are actually with the Libertarian Party, and then and they're listed in alphabetical order. So finally, you have on the list Kanye West, and his VP choice is Michelle Tidball. So that's who we have for president.
Can you roll up again?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's, well, if they're going to include the Republican Party nominee, Democratic Party nominee, why wouldn't they include the Green Party nominee
and Libertarian
and the Libertarian Party nominee? That doesn't seem fair if you're going to announce that. Right? Because I think Joe Jurgensen is, I think he was the Libertarian, and it shows how and why these other parties are not really validated, not really made significant. And so at least identify if they're a nominee of their party, but you're basically saying we don't respect their party because we just identify them as independent. No, they're not independent. They're part of a party. And so she's a libertarian.
Yes. So Joe is a female. Joe is a female. She's the Libertarian Party choice for 2020. We're hearing another conversation. But anyway, Joe Jurgensen is the nominee for the Libertarian Party. We also have a Green Party. We have the Gray Party and
Gray Party. Gray Party.
Well, I know there's a Green Party in
Gray Party.
A Gray Party in Shelby County.
Oh, Gray Party presidential nominee.
Let's see if they have it.
I know Kanye West is the birthday party. So there's been oftentimes question about, it's idealistic, it's romantic, it's hyperbolic, but we've seen that we have to really make the Democratic Party and Republican Party work for us, because that's all we have. Some lofty and beautiful notions, but individuals have not been able to raise a resource or raise the awareness to get people to participate in it. I think the last time there was a significant candidate, it was Ross Perot, and we saw what happened, right? And these guys have their own money, and even Forbes. And so, we have to make sure that the government works for us, and we have to make sure these parties work for us. And I'm sure they're going to do all I can in my power to make sure the Democratic Party works for me, my family, and my friends, and particularly on a real local level. Because what has happened is they haven't worked for us. Because I think one of the biggest lamentations or complaints or insults that President Trump makes is, those cities are run by Democrats, and he's inferring that they are weak, they're spineless, they're
Not
incompetent,
effective.
they're not effective. And so it just speaks volumes to the fact that we as Democrats can allow these things to occur, and we don't have to wait to hear this is the most important election of our lifetime. We've heard it 10 other times in the past, 10 elections, and this really becomes that, right? And we now are seeing a significant amount of people going out to the poll, which is absolutely a great thing. Nevertheless, people who really understand their role and participate fully in the American Republic, because they have benefited because their interests are being met. You will see them anxious to go out to the poll. You don't have to do a number of different things, but we have to make sure everybody is the needs are met. It's too many individual needs are just not met. And so I saw a lot of vote shaming, and I didn't particularly like it. Particularly, I didn't like it on either parts. Making people feel bad if they vote. A lot of times, people don't. People can be quite aware, and none just because they didn't vote doesn't mean they're not voting, right? And so we just got to be sensitive to vote shaming. Be mindful of that's all about constitutional rights, but it's just the attitudes of some people. Not they don't want to engage in the process. They just fed up and sick and tired of it. That's what I would say.
So I'm checking on the Green Party here. You're right about this, sick and tired of it. So the Green Party presidential candidate is Howie Hawkins, but his VP candidate is Angela Walker, a sister.
Oh wow! Really?
A very sister-looking sister. I mean,
a
sister-looking sister. Well, with Kamala, all this about her heritage, and she wasn't this or that, and she wasn't really black, or she was just part black, and all of that. This lady may be my cousin.
Well,
now.
I see what you mean now. And again, there's no question that she's an American descendant of slavery in this country. She's from Florida and Milwaukee, born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's no ambiguity around that. And I think, in all respectfully, all of the hype in regards to having a black woman as the Democratic vice president nominee was great. However, I would have loved in the same context that we have in Angela Nicole Walker, who is a Green Party nominee, right? But we didn't hear about her.
Didn't hear about her.
That's why we need media. And I see reasons why people might not want to promote or put her, but she's on the ballot, right? And if we are going to respect the way the Democratic Party process is supposed to roll, we just got to include all the people. When you do that, you're disingenuous. And that is why Trump can become so powerful, because he sees the hypocrisy and he exploits the hypocrisy that Democrats and others have as relates to pushing their own agenda. And now you all of a sudden want to mobilize everybody because the boogeyman gonna get you. No, why have you told us about sister, in this case, Angela Walker?
She was elected in May, and that was news. And we're just
It wasn't newsworthy. That black light didn't matter for us to know that she was engaging politically in the process. And so just tell us all of the information. We're going to make our choice. We're going to make our choices anyway, but this is why people become disenfranchised and apathetic about the process, because they don't feel it's fair in that way.
And shame on Wikipedia, she being who she is, and the photograph that they are showing of her on Wikipedia, she has on a head wrap, and a hoodie with a drawstring, but there are other photographs of her online in a more VP presentation, professional suit and jacket. And I know that they had a selection of many photographs and chose to use that one. But just for a moment here, if I may, she describes herself as a socialist in the tradition of Fred Hampton and Assata Shakur. She's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. and grew up in the inner city, graduated from Bayview High School. Also, she studied history at the University of North Florida, where she attended. And she said she dropped out her final year because she could make more money as a bus driver than as a school teacher. That's what she first wanted to do. She worked for Greyhound bus lines, and very interesting. Very
Well, that's the beauty of America. That
yes.
You can run for president if you want to. Somebody out here in
Mhm.
radio land, you can run for president. That's the beauty of the democracy or the constitution or the society we live in. That any and everybody have access to aspire to the highest office in the land they want to serve. And that's the great thing about it. You can't do that in Russia. You can't do it in China. You can't do it anywhere else. That's what makes America a great nation, in my opinion, is because we have the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. So when people question Kanye and maybe Miss Walker and so many others for running and why they're running, it's their right to vote. It's their right to run. They can run. You can run. We can run.
Absolutely. It's right. And it's our privilege because if I vote, I can also run. So, but when you're conditioned to think others supposed to do lead for you, then you kind of accept that. So, but we just got to, this is one way we're not leveling the playing field by making sure that there is a merit-based system where individuals have an opportunity, whether you agree or disagree with them, whether you think they are out of their mind or not, they have a right to do it. That was when I was growing up. There was this guy. I don't know. You got to help me out. Whatever happened to him? He used to run for mayor all the time. He was a white guy. He was quite eccentric.
Prince Mungo. He's still living.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
we should dig him up and
and I saw him.
Engage with him.
Who's that crazy man? And but she said,
perennial candidate.
He's gonna always run for office because he can. And she's like, I wish more people would step up and assert themselves being a part of this. So I never forgot that.
Yes, so these other parties out for whatever reason, they have them all listed as independent, green and libertarian, and so that was president and vice president, and so we're moving on to United States Senate. Once again, we have about 10 candidates, and if you're not Democrat or Republican, they're listing you as independent regardless of your party affiliation. I don't like that. I think people deserve the right to be listed in conjunction with their official affiliation, whatever that is, and it minimizes and lessens these other parties that people don't know a whole lot about anyway.
Well, the question is, are the parties official? That would be the first question that I have. There's some criteria that establishes one as an official party with the Federal Election Commission. But I do know the Libertarian and the Green Party is one. So it's not really. It's an excuse. Well, there's always an excuse. Nothing just happens that way. It's just problematic on so many levels.
So at the top of the ticket, you have the Republican nominee, Bill Haggerty, and right after him, Marquita Bradshaw. So
yeah, give it up for Marquita.
U.S. Senate for the state of Tennessee. She has ran a good, hard race and covered the whole state, East, Middle, and West Tennessee.
And her campaign party or headquarters is, where's it going to be tonight?
Tonight they're going to be at the Hilton. You have to register, I guess, on account of COVID. But tonight they're going to be at.
So we are hoping for a success for.
Yes, victory indeed.
Marquita Bradshaw. Many did not think that she could do it. She's a beautiful, wonderful, sincere individual who, in the spirit of what we talked about, just say, I'm going to run for office as a environmentalist, environmental activist, and as a grassroots activist, and has been quite active in the community. And she said, I'm going to make the sacrifice and run for Senate. People looked at her like, she had two heads. And because that's traditionally for white wealthy men who got the Senate. Here you have this young black woman with red hair uh, who has an afro and who is not fitting all of the rudiments or the visuals or what people think you should do, but she always had a sense of
Do
her to
and
get to
look
work.
like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
commend her for stepping up and out, and we want to wish her a much success. Woman of faith, woman focused on family. Just excited about her campaign. This is going to be quite telling tonight how Tennesseans show up and show out
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for Marquita.
Yeah, so that I said Hilton. That's the double tree on Union and Third, right across from the Peabody.
Well, I may stop by there. I'll think about it.
Okay. So moving on from U.S. Senate, we have the House race for District 8.
This is another one I'm kind of embarrassed to say I didn't know much about. Tell me more, because there's another African American woman who is
Mm-hmm.
running for DC.
Erica Stotts Pearson. And for those of you
We talked about it last week, right?
who like ballots, believe in ballots, this could have been an awesome ballot with just all these sisters on one ballot,
And I love the fact that Fannie Lou Hamer is dancing in heaven, that black women are stepping up to the plate and handling their business, and thankful for them all around the country. There has been a resurgence of black women stepping up to run for office, and that's an awesome thing. I want to encourage young black men to get up, get out, get active in process also, so that we are continually represented for the era. But it's a great time. But this is a time where just because you black ain't gonna make it. You gotta have some plans, some strategies, some ideas, and some courage to fight the good fight in order for us to start advancing the cause for what does Trump call us? The colors. My people.
And speaking of electing black women, so I received this from Ruby Powell Dennis earlier. There's a new page that has gone up, and they have a website as well, electblackwomenpac.com. So be sure to check that out and see what that's about. But there's yet another political PAC, and this one is focusing on electing black women.
Does it talk about the black women's platform on there? Research.
Let's see. Elect black women.
Because what's happening, again, um, what's the platform? What's the issues? Again, no one loves black women more than I do. And I do know some black women who have not stepped up and served the communities well. They're not leading in the spirit of Shirley Chisholm or even Fannie Lou Hamer. So, we live in oftentimes a celebrity culture. A lot of people like to use politics as their own platform for their own interests. And I'm not suggesting by any way that these black women are doing it, but we must ensure that we are focused on our goals, our platform, and our issues, and make sure individuals are going out, mobilizing the community, day and time. Black folk in the name of blackness, exploiting their constituency, whether you're a black man or a black woman. And just because you're my color don't mean you're my kind. And just because you are my gender don't mean you're gonna be with me. There's a caller.
Caller, are you there? Who's speaking? Good evening, Miss Turner. How are you? It's whatever you want to talk about, Miss Turner. No. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing. You raised some great points. I hope I'm better in the microphone. There's a little bit of technical difficulties, but what I do love about you sharing some context about the fact historically Black men have been in leadership positions, and what we do see now in the 20th century is in the 21st century is more Black women who are stepping to the plate in a real uncompromising manner. And you are absolutely right, Sister Brenda, that you want to ask where are those men who are going to protect and support them. There's a theme that's going on in our communities often that can oftentimes put Black men against Black women that we got to be really careful of when it comes to power. And, women have indeed been oppressed, and patriarchy is real. And however, we have to start finding ways in the right form to really kind of address some of these issues because these issues pour out publicly and make both the Black man and the Black woman and the Black family look bad. And so we do want to continue to support, our women. But you're absolutely right, there used to be a time where I'm from. You say something about my mama, we gonna throw down. And the mere fact that President Trump can easily insult a Black woman speaks volumes to the fact that he has no regard, no respect for the Black man, and that should have been an immediate outcry as opposed to having alliances to support those efforts. But that's just my little piece on that. Pearl, what are your thoughts?
Um, I appreciate her bringing that up and making the point, but it also makes me sad because Black women in this society, in the midst of our accomplishments and our incredibleness, we still lag behind when it comes to health care, our earnings, our station in society, um, just challenges with having parity, when it just across the board, just every aspect of our lives, we're still getting the short end of the stick as a group. Now, many of us have surpassed the odds, the stereotypes, but we still are not where we should be, could be, and deserve to be. And I guess the most appropriate way to address this, tackle this, is to delve into the whys of how it is, why it is like this for Black women in this country. But Ms. Turner, you made some excellent points as usual, and I appreciate you bringing this particular topic in the larger out of this larger topic to light this evening.
And I'm glad you brought that up, and that's why I think the efforts of Ruby Payne and the Black Women's Pact is rationale for why we have to continue to support Black women. And by Black women, they say, I'm not waiting on anybody to to help me. We're going to help ourselves and get into the process, because Black women, they know how to handle business, and they ready to get down to business, and they are not our competitors. And I think it's this powerful Black woman who wrote a book on Black male female relationships, and Julia Hare, in the 80s, that we have to really look at those things. And she was a social worker, and we have to start to bridge these conversations. Thank you for bringing that, Sister Brenda. Speaking of social worker, I know we have Rico on the call. Rico, are you there?
Fine, and a perfect segue as he mentions Dr. Hare, because I know that you have been a fan of hers.
Mm.
If the Florida returns come in early enough, they may be able to call it tonight.
Well, thank you for your call. We have another caller on the line.
Thank you.
You said,
Okay. Hi, caller, are you there? And your name is? Hi, Miss Parker. What's on your mind this evening? Thank you. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, I don't respond to those kind of questions. Because when I talk about the Bible, I teach the Bible, and I think to the point that you're making, as well as Rico is making, maturity comes by way of education. And so, there is, I know the quote you're referencing in the Bible, but I don't use text out of context. So if I'm going to talk about it, I would like to present it in its overall context. And I think that's the real bridging of the conversation that we're having tonight when it comes to black male female relationships in context with politics, in context with how we create these standards, because we lose sight of historically in the history of this country, the number one threat American white power has been the black man. So there is a reason why um, black men are overly represented in prison. Why you don't see as many of them being elected at this particular time, but none of these things happen just by osmosis. It's planned that way, and so we shouldn't be fighting each other. And the question is chivalry dead? A lot of uh, things that are happening in our society is based off bad theology. So I'm not going to answer the question directly. I understand what you're saying, because people use that scripture to foster a sense of tyranny and supremacy amongst women, because the Bible says the Bible is not used to justify any particular policy position or religious position. That's why we have so many churches and people jacked up. That's why we have these adverse relationships to all these rules. But rules without relationship leads to rebellion. And so when you ask me, I would say come to Providence African Methodist Episcopal Church. If any of y'all out there, and I would explain uh, the role of spirituality and community development and family development and how it fosters equity between man and woman. But right now, when we start talking about politics, we start talking about power, all it does is foster a sense of antithetical relationship to one another. Your points are absolutely clear, and it's things that we have to really kind of start to deal with. But we cannot use the Bible to justify a position, cannot use politics to justify a position. We have to learn to listen to one another. We have to learn to love one another. We have to learn to affirm one another. We have to learn how to sacrifice for one another. And those things that we used to do back in the day, right? It was 18, 20, 19, 20, and 2020. We are doing it. We just don't talk about it as much. But thank you for your. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay. Well, no, I don't think I'm not. I'm not running away from that question. I just want you to just know. I'm going to invite a Clenora Hudson Weems, who is a noted writer on this actual topic, right? And comes out the tradition of Julian Hare, which is the kind of name I lifted up. But in all socialization, socialization is man, woman, and child. That is the beginning of a community. So that's the essence of an organism. So all organisms, all families are anchored in man, woman, and child. However, when you start creating dogma and rituals that basically identifies a level of superiority over one, then people can misinterpret and misuse that power. So I'm not running from the suggestion or influence. Everyone knows that. But we live in a society today where right has been called wrong and wrong has become right. And I don't particularly get public or in private get in those type of kind of like dialogues because it is the enemy, is the trick of the devil to continue to foster that level of fragmentation. But it's no surprise, and it is absolutely clear that men drive the history of this country, drive their community based off their initiative. But you got to be careful that all of the trickery that's going on to foster men as imbeciles, as stupid. That's always been the caricature of the black man in America. The movie Harriet Tubman was out. It had the black man looking like a coward, and all of the movies now in the media are certain, black women in this power dominant role. I get it and I understand it. However, there is oppression in black communities anchored in not patriarchy, but tyranny. And so, in the abuse of power or doing things because they say the Bible's supposed to do it. People say stuff all the time, don't know what they're talking about is based on the Bible. So, your points are clear. Rico's points are absolutely clear. And I know Brendan Turner's point is absolutely clear. And we have to be able to affirm and support each other. And we got a lot of healing to do in these communities and not take it for granted that that level of maturity that Rico spoke about and people what you suggest what we supposed to do. Nothing is just gonna happen in osmosis until we start strategically by putting infrastructures in place that will foster that healing, those opportunities for listening. And I think we're gonna start that. I think we need to do a segment once a month, call it family talk, right? And we just sit back and have a medium for black male female relationships because it seems there's a lot of pain.
There's a lot of pain, and both sides are hurting. Both sides are hurting, and so let us not be distracted by who should be the first side to say ouch, because both sides are hurting.
Yes. Mhm. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
For sharing, and that's where the healing starts. Pearl indicated that this is a media format that is independent and is set up to share a story and get your perspective. And there's a lot of healing and trauma in the Black community that was targeted first on a Black man, because they know if I destroy a Black man, I can destroy a Black woman, I can destroy a Black child. That's just anthropological. That's just
And
history.
family.
That's just family. I can destroy family. And a lot of things that happen in our community are strategic, and it's based off of it just didn't happen. It was intentional. We must learn to step outside the box and be objective and understanding the difference between. Well, we just need to be. We need to learn to talk to each other. And then we see that most people have gotten away from church. We've gotten all the primary socialization systems within our community are your family, your church, and your school. If your church jacked up, your family jacked up, your school jacked up, where is everybody supposed to be learning this stuff from? That everybody said we should be doing. And so we can't nobody tell anybody what to do anymore, because everybody has created idols out of their own selves, and everybody is smart, everybody has it, and so we're not operating with any standards or morals or values we think we're supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen by osmosis, and that's why President Trump can continue to run rampant, because he knows what exists in this country. And of course, this whole it's not about hate. It's based off power. It's based off fear. It's based off threat of the fact that you had a whole group of people because of their skin who were considered animals. And now those animals have recognized they are human. Not only do they recognize that they are human, they recognize that they are divine. And we got to control that. And the best way to control that is by emasculating Black men and killing Black women and fostering that level of independence. And so, it's psychoanalytical. Francis Chris Wilson talked about this work. The sociologists have talked about it, psychologists have talked about it. The question is, what is the listener going to do? Will you humble yourself to? If it's not a church, it's not a mosque, it's not something, where do you get your informed value system from to work on yourself and deal with the trauma that we all have? And we have to start unpacking it. It's not about being Black, it's not about being white. It's about, hey, we gotta we gotta fix this. And you can't fix it unless you recognize it's broke. But that's my soliloquy. I hope I wasn't talking too much, but thank you all for your calls. It's quite intense conversation. I think it's good, though.
I think it's good, and I enjoyed your soliloquy, and I judge that the listeners did as well. And so, because it is such an important day in our country and here in Memphis, Tennessee, and Shelby County, and we have another engagement to bring you live election night coverage. We're going to wrap up a little earlier this evening, but before we do, I just want to say that we're going to be at City Hall Event Center starting at 8 p.m. and we'll go maybe about a little before 10. We'll wrap it up. And that's at 492 South 2nd Street next to Makita's Cookies and behind Central Barbecue. And after tonight, life still goes on for us. And so with that being said, I want to close out with just a couple of comments about Purvis Payne, and we'll wrap it up because we don't want to forget about Purvis.
Well, we're going to be having a community town meeting on Monday. I will be sending more information about that on Memphis Raise Your Expectations page, as well as those who are on the audience. Please email me, kandrebrooks@gmail.com, because Purvis Payne is scheduled to be executed on December 3rd. I spoke with his attorney on today. They had a pretty good meeting with the governor, talked with Representative G. Hardaway. They're going to be on the call with me and us on Monday. If you can participate as we give you an update. We're really trying to get clemency, and we're not waiting. We're going to pray. We're going to stand up. We're going to do all that we can to make sure justice is addressed, the DNA is lost, And so, that's questionable. And are we talking about Trump? We need to talk about Purvis Payne and all of the black men who are disproportionately incarcerated um, in this country, in this society. And what, as Sister Pearl indicated, when we wake up tomorrow, we're going to go on. It's going to be all right. We come from a great stock of people. We come from a great, amazing people who were relentless, and they came far by faith. They came by way of love, and they came by way in a belief of in a value system bigger than themselves. I mean, God is our ability to come together to achieve a particular outcome. They did it in the name of Jesus. They did it in the name of Allah. They did it in the name of Lekbar. They did it in the name of Ra. But nevertheless, it's all about family. Whatever your faith tradition or whatever your political ideology is, we are family first. We are one country. We are one faith, and we should be all anchored on freedom. Till we see you again one day when this pandemic is over, we will hear you again, this time next Tuesday, Memphis State of the City, where we keep it real and ask the question, what is it for the black folk?
Have a good evening. This is Pearl Walker and Kevin Brooks. Talk to you next week. Thank you.
Both of them came out at the same time.
Florida looks like it's about to go. Florida, and possibly Georgia too.
You kidding, really?
Yeah.
That means the Cubans, well,